There is an eerie quiet here at PPG Paints Arena. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms. The Penguins beat the St. Louis Blues 6-3. We will get to the game tonight, Monday night here at PPG Paints Arena. A fan fell from the upper deck down to the lower bowl, rushed from the arena in critical condition. Our thoughts, our prayers to the fan, his family, for a full recovery and certainly full health. Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins post-game expressed that, said it felt not right to talk about points with such an incident here tonight. However, the game went on, so we're going to offer some analysis. Now, the PHN report card was a little bit abbreviated. We did the in-person reporting, speaking with witnesses and officers on the scene to ascertain exactly what happened. That story is on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. So, with all of that said, it does feel a little awkward talking hockey, but here we go. The Penguins win 6-3. The stars were the story. Erik Karlsson, really good. I mean, there was a mistake, kind of led to a goal, but 3 assists dancing with the puck. Sidney Crosby, he's been building towards his best game. He popped on Monday. Dominant. 3 points for him, points 1699, 1700, 1701, making him the 9th player all time, the 4th fastest player to get to 1700 points. Evgeny Malkin, fantastic. If this is Malkin's last ride, he is going out on a gallop. He was great on Monday. And what he is doing, he's moving well. But you can skate well, not play well, right? He's getting in on the forecheck. He's getting after defenders. But when he has the puck, that magic, that spark, that whatever it is that makes such great players great, he's doing it. He's just controlling the game. The Penguins scored 2 goals in the first 55 seconds. A goal on the first shot, Brian Rust, after Crosby just makes a ridiculous pass. And a 2-on-1, almost, it was 16 seconds later. 2-on-1, Malkin, Anthony, don't call me Mo, Mantha. Malkin just did the heavy lifting there. Bolts out of the defensive zone, holds the puck, pulls the defenseman, pulls Jordan Binnington, the goalie. Everybody's out of position. And Malkin just puts an easy pass to Mantha in the crease. You could have scored it. I could have scored it. Mantha scored it. At 55 seconds, the Penguins lead 2-0. But then St. Louis did push back. The Penguins got really sloppy. By the end of the first period, it's 2-2. The second period, the Penguins settled. What they did well in the second period, Coach Dan Muse referenced it. And to his credit, Dan Muse also began his post-game press conference with thoughts and prayers for the injured fan. What the Penguins did well in the second period and into the third, they settled down. Their breakouts got clean. They got the puck out of their zone. They began to create speed. And this team really likes to play on the rush. The Penguins are good on the rush. They don't necessarily need a lot of chances anymore. They're playing with the speed. They're pressuring St. Louis. I mean, look, St. Louis is battered and beaten. Their lineup is quite injured. But still, listen, you don't get to not play the game because you have some injuries. And the Penguins really just quick strike those first 2 goals. And what they're doing differently this year than they have in years past is when they score a goal, they're not sitting on their haunches, self-congratulating and proud of themselves. They're getting on the attack. you are not seeing teams take back the game after the Penguins score. I suppose that can't be overestimated, just how important that is. So those are the good grades tonight. Crosby, Malkin, Carlson, Rust. By the way, Chris Letang really coming into form as well. That shouldn't be overlooked. Parker Wotherspoon, oh man, how this guy spent years in the AHL is almost a crime against hockey. How good he is playing. Scores a wicked goal, steps to the circle, whips one past Binnington. What he does so well is, obviously he skates well, he moves the puck well, but he really has a knack for finding soft spots in the offensive zone and making himself available without compromising his defensive responsibility. Look, you have Erik Karlsson. You never know when he's going to wander off the reservation, so Wotherspoon has to be responsible, but he's still providing offense and really jumping into the play, jumping into the zone at seemingly the right time. Now, here's the flip side to everything. The rookies. Philip Hollander on the first line with Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust, solid game. Held his own. Ben Kindle, -2. He was a little bit rough at times, but he's fine. Fine game, not necessarily his best, but, it wasn't bad. Ville Koivunen, his first game since the recall, played a couple of games early in the season. By his admission, coaches said, hey, wasn't good enough. And in Koivunen's very short language said, I agree. He was bad on Monday. It's bewildering to me where Koivunen's game went. Such a splash at the end of last season. Such a good training camp and preseason. Playing with Kindle and Hollander and even Novak or Tomasino, he was really moving the play, pulling back, knowing when to, dish the puck. But the regular season started, and it seems Koivunen's game left him. He was not good Monday. No shots, no shot attempts. Didn't miss, didn't have them blocked. 0 times did he attempt to shoot the puck. No takeaways, no hits. He was barely on the score sheet, and he played just over 10 minutes, which for Dan Muse is the bare minimum. So he played basically the bare minimum on Monday. Now, the PHN report card, I paid a lot of attention to Harrison Brunicke. Now, I've waited 8 minutes to get to Brunicke because the report card sort of savaged his game Monday. There is a worrisome, troublesome downward trend to Harrison Brunicke right now. We diagrammed the plays. We showed you the video, the goal visualizers on the mistakes that Brunicke is making. Now, you might knee-jerk reaction and say, well, Dan, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes, and I agree with that principle. I've written it. We've talked about it. I've said it. However, the mistakes that Brunicke was making Monday were very elemental mistakes, very basic, fundamental defenseman sort of mistakes. These aren't mistakes that you get to make in the NHL. These were ghastly. The jumping forward on the Blues' second goal, he jumps forward at center ice, ill-advised. Now the play gets behind him. However, he's back in time, but he coasts. He literally just kind of bent the knees and coasted, reached his stick out. Well, Nick Bjugstad is two steps ahead of him. Bjugstad, easy tap in behind Tristan Jarry. Brunicke needed to take a stride, 2 strides. He had plenty of time to do so. You can see the video, how long Brunicke coasted. That was troublesome. And then Sidney Crosby dishes the puck to Brunicke. Would have been St. Louis's third goal, which made it 4-3 in the third period. The Penguins were in control. Brunicke makes a junior's mistake. This is the same thing we talked about he did in preseason. He knows he has to clean it up. We've talked about it. I've talked about it with him, and the term he uses is the pro game. He can't do these things. Well, he just skated straight into two defenders in the offensive zone, and instead of moving the puck, he tried to stick handle around two guys. Well, that lasted about a millisecond. St. Louis quickly steals the puck, transitions 2-on-1, and Matthew Joseph, brother of P.O. Joseph, whips it past Jari. It's 4-3, and you're like, are they going to give this away? However, the Penguins score a couple of goals, Sidney Crosby, and then Evgeny Malkin with the empty netter. It was a bad night for Brunicke. There wasn't a lot of good plays to offset the two really bad plays. Now, he made a couple of good plays. It wasn't bereft of positives, but it certainly was short on positives. We assumed, you assumed, I assumed, Harrison Brunicke was here to stay. After his last 3 games and the quickly descending trend of his game, I no longer am sure about that. This team is now 7-2-1, one of the best records in the Eastern Conference. I think they're a point back, or I don't know how the standings shook out with the rest of the games. Can you afford that level of mistake? You can afford rookie mistakes if you're getting some benefit. Can you afford that level of fundamental mistake without getting the positives? Brunicke is giving the Penguins something to think about, and that's not a good thing. His NHL future, I would say, is now a bit in jeopardy. Okay, that's it. I've got an early morning train. I'm taking the Amtrak all the way to Philadelphia because we're going to fly out of Philadelphia very early Wednesday morning and get into Minneapolis. Once again, thoughts and prayers to the injured fan, his family, and I believe there was a second person injured in the fall as the fan was coming down. Actually, at first landed in the luxury box before continuing down. It just, I don't know what to say. I was a little rattled by it, and I think Sidney Crosby said it best when he's like, it feels weird talking about hockey, and he didn't want to do it. I kind of apologized. I didn't get a chance to apologize, but I really felt for Sid in the moment in the locker room, because then other people started asking questions about the game. I left the scrum. I think I felt like that was appropriate. He didn't want to talk hockey, and he said, gave the statement on the part of a captain. Class move by Crosby, all around. That's it from PPG Paints Arena. I'm Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms.